Hello, and welcome to a very special bonus episode of JumpCast, the podcast from the award-winning team behind JumpCut Online. My name is Sarah, and I am your host for today, and I am joined today by Rhys
Hello.
and Holly.
Hello.
So, as mentioned at the top, this is one of our bonus episodes as we look ahead to Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Is coming out imminently. Who knows how imminently by the time this episode comes out, but it is imminent. And today we're going to be looking at the Star Wars sequel trilogy. So mostly episodes 7 and 8, but looking ahead to 9 as well. And there is a lot to cover with these films, so we're going to get right on into it. Kicking off with The Force Awakens. So I thought it might be quite good if we just kind of share perhaps what our experience was like of watching The Force Awakens and a little bit about our kind of Star Wars relationship, what the films mean to us, or as brief as we can keep that. But how your kind of Star Wars journey perhaps shaped your experiences of watching The Force Awakens, or what that first watch was like for you. So, Holly, do you want to kick us off and talk about your experience?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a lackluster experience, I think, because I was really into the prequels when I was a little kid, because 90s kid, sort of grew up with them. But then for some reason, Revenge of the Sith completely put me off. Like, I don't know why. I was like 9 and I came out and I hated it. I really have no idea why. So flash forward to 10 years, Force Awakens was coming out and I didn't really care. So like my brother and my dad went to see it. And I went and saw something else because I thought, oh, there's no way I'm sitting through that. And then they came out with the cinema, and obviously they really wanted to talk about it. And I was like, that's fine, go ahead. I don't care if you spoil anything. And I literally turned around to my brother and said, you can say anything because I'm never ever going to watch this movie. So he talked obviously about like Han dying and Kylo being his son and everything. I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And then the next day he like made me rewatch Revenge of the Sith with him, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, why? But then I watched it and I was actually like, oh, it's better than I thought it was. And so then I decided to watch this original trilogy for the first time. Then I got hooked, and sort of within weeks I was a complete Star Wars fan again. Booked my ticket to go see Force Awakens at 10 o'clock on a Friday morning. There was about 7 people in the cinema, and it was like, so it was so quiet, but absolutely loved the film. But obviously I knew everything that was going to happen because I'd let my brother spoil it for me. So yeah, it could have been better, but I just absolutely fell in love with it from there on out. So
At least you willingly allowed the film to be spoiled for yourself, I suppose, rather
that's
than
true, yeah.
happening by accident, some numpty on Twitter spoiling it for you. Or
That's like my worst nightmare now. Absolute worst nightmare.
yeah, get those keywords muted for episode 9, people.
Oh yes.
And Rhys, how about you? What's your kind of experience of watching The Force Awakens and your Star Wars journey as well?
Mine's a bit similar actually in the sense that this might be shocking to some, but I didn't watch the originals until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I was very late to it, and my friend was like, "You've never seen Star Wars? What the hell's wrong with you?" Because I'd seen the prequels but never the originals. So I finally sat down. And I really really enjoyed them. But then when Force Awakens came out, I knew it was going to be a big event, so I thought I'd have to go see it. I saw it at midnight screening, and to this day I think that is one of the best cinema experiences I've ever had in my entire life. It was
that was amazing.
Oh, the atmosphere in the room was just incredible, and I wasn't even like a massive Star Wars fan at the time. But I was feeling the energy of the room, and it was just everyone there was there for obviously all the same reason. And when the first Star Wars appeared on screen with the score, the room was like fully cheering and clapping, and I was like, this is amazing. But then after that, everyone was literally dead silent for the rest of the film. Like nobody wanted to miss a second of what was happening, and it was just incredible. And since then, like I think like Colin, that Force Awakens was what really really kicked off my Star Wars love. And I think it's the best Star Wars film, and I think it's just fantastic, one of the best films of the whole series.
I agree completely.
I think we're all going to be on fairly similar pages of this, which is good. So no controversy here. But I can't quite remember the order that I watched the films in. So like you guys, I'm a 90s kid, so I did go and see the prequel trilogy at the cinema.
Yeah.
I remember absolutely loving The Phantom Menace because I was a child and I didn't know better.
And it's pod racing. You've got to have the pod racing.
I love a pod race. This is pod racing. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
Exhilarating. But yeah, I definitely remember seeing those kind of three at the cinema when I was young and really enjoying them. And I'm fairly certain that I had seen at least A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back prior to that, but I think was just too young to take it in. So yeah, from there, just kind of my love of Star Wars grew, and watched the original trilogy many, many times, fell in love with that. So by the time that Force Awakens rolled around, I was kind of I just didn't think there was going to be any more Star Wars. I thought Star Wars was done, and we had these 6 films, and that was great. Plus the kind of expanded universe stuff as well with TV series and whatnot. But I thought, oh, this is it, and I'm happy with that. So then when it was kind of, we're doing another trilogy, the sequel trilogy as we're calling it, and I couldn't believe it. I was just, I would think my first reaction was apprehension, just because, I mean, well, we'll find out what the other guys thought of the prequel trilogy when they get into that, but it's not great. There's moments, but there's also moments of just, not great. Not very eloquently put there, but Jar Jar Binks. And
oh
poor Jar Jar. We'll have some Jar Jar defenders, I'm sure, on the other podcast. But so I was nervous, I think, about what The Force Awakens was going to be. Was it going to be any good? Was it going to, crush my dreams like the prequel trilogy did upon rewatch, or was it going to be amazing? So I certainly went into it with apprehension, but I remember seeing that first trailer and just thinking, okay, this does look good. It looks like they're on the right track. So like Rhys, I went along to midnight screening, and I think I started crying from the moment Star Wars first appears on the screen and stopped, I don't know, somewhere towards the end. It is still, I would say, hands down the best cinema experience that I have ever had. I went with my brother, who is also a massive, massive Star Wars fan. So we had that moment together, which was really, really nice. And it was very emotional. It was fun. It was exhilarating. It was everything I had wanted from a Star Wars film. And I just remember absolutely falling in love with it from the first moment. I think I saw it I saw it 10 times at the cinema.
10 times.
Oh my god.
10. Yeah, I was in a bit of a kind of competition with myself, but spurred on only by myself and no one else. That was like, I'm gonna go and see this as many times as possible. So I would just book up to go and see it. I'd see another film, and then I'd be like, I'm just gonna squeeze in a Star Wars as well and go and see it again.
So good.
By the ninth or 10th time, I was like, I could recite this thing like the whole way through. But obviously I loved it, having been to see it so many times. But I think it does. I rewatched it this morning ahead of recording this podcast, and it is so great, and it just so much fun, so just everything you want from a Star Wars film. And I mean, let's get into what we kind of think of the film and what it is we love about it so much. I don't know if you guys have got any particular favorite moments or the things about it that really stood out for you.
Oh, see, I'm known on Twitter as a massive Kylo Ren fan. I mean, that's where my love of Adam Driver started and everything. I just think Kylo Ren's the most interesting character that's ever stepped foot in a Star Wars movie. Just his complexity that is just it's crazy. I've just not seen anything like it. It's just, I find it so fascinating. And my favorite scene is the one on the bridge with him and Han. And Han shouts Ben to him, and then he stops dead in his tracks, and then just that whole confrontation is just it's just great.
the build up to the moment of Kylo finally stabbing him is just, I couldn't breathe watching it. Like, you knew something was going to happen, and then you finally see the flash of red. You're just like, no! Oh god, it's just amazing.
And it's the way the light change, because I studied the lighting in that whole scene, and like it starts off with like half his face is like got a red light on it, half the other half has got like a blue light on it, and then in the very moments leading up to him like impaling Han, like his entire face like goes red and everything goes red around it. I just think like the symbolism of that is just so interesting. It's just great. It's not good that Han died, obviously, but that's not great. But but you know what I mean.
I think that that whole scene is really, really great. And what you're talking about there with the lighting, I think there's a moment where it sort of shows, I don't know if it's a planet or a spaceship or something that is kind of eclipsed, and it just shrouds the whole thing in darkness. And that is because all up to that moment you're kind of like, is he gonna turn? Is Han going to be able to get through to him? Because, you know, that's what he set out to do, is he was going to try and, Leia said, like, bring our son home. And that's what he was trying to do. And you see that turmoil in him. And I think that is something that, what this film had to do in terms of establishing new characters and having us care about a new set of heroes, a new set of villains. And I think that arguably Kylo Ren is probably one of the best, if not the best character in all of the Star Wars films, because he is so complex, he is so layered, he is so interesting, and his journey through the films, I think, has been the thing that I find most interesting. I think we'll probably get more into that when we get to The Last Jedi, but yeah, his journey through this film is so interesting, and he's not just that kind of one-dimensional villain, destroy the galaxy kind of. There's really personal connections between him and a lot of characters, and I think that showdown sort of between him and his father is incredibly interesting and so well done as well. And props to Adam Driver. I mean, what a guy.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant actor, isn't he?
He has the range.
He does.
Yeah, he is just, we're just going to sidetrack ourselves and make this the Adam Driver podcast, but
I'm perfectly happy with that. Perfectly happy with that.
What a year that guy is having. Like, how many films has he been in this year? Like, we've got Marriage Story, The Report, Star Wars, obviously, The Dead Don't Die. I mean,
and then there's like the man who killed Don Quixote. I don't know how to say it in English. Quixote. I don't know how to say it, but so that's actually, I just read today, that's coming out like in UK cinemas in January. So it's actually getting a release here. So it's kind of extended onto the year of Adam Driver.
Finally, we declare 2019 the year of Adam Driver, and we are here for it.
Yes.
I literally watched Marriage Story this week, and I was completely blown away by him. In that, he's just incredible in Marriage Story, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that one scene where he has like the breakdown at the end. Yeah, that whole thing's amazing.
I would like Adam Driver to sing "Being Alive" to me for the rest of my life.
Don't! I've not stopped thinking about that scene.
I cannot listen to that song without crying out. No. Like we've sidetracked ourselves already.
It's my fault.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, we're gonna break out into a little Adam Driver style sing along in a minute as well, and belt out some show tunes. But back to Star Wars, and I guess while we're talking about the character of Kylo Ren, some of the other new characters, obviously we can't really talk about the sequel trilogy without talking about Rey, of course, played by Daisy Ridley, and just her as a character as well. What your thoughts are on the focus, I guess, being on a female character this time around, and her journey and her character as well, and thoughts on Rey.
I really like Rey as a character. I think she's absolutely fascinating for reasons that become more clear in Last Jedi, and we'll get to what I think it means as we get towards Last Jedi in the Rise of Skywalker discussion. But I just think the fact that she is someone who has come from absolutely nothing and is plunged into this scenario where she has to save the world, effectively, is what she has to do. And she's someone who has always been out for herself, and now she's suddenly in charge of, saving billions of people.
Yeah, I agree. She's one of my favourite characters. I love the idea that she's sort of strengthened by not like a not by blood ties or blood family, but like a found family. So like obviously in the Resistance and with Leia and Finn and Poe, and she's just great. She's like at the beginning of Force Awakens. She's just taking care of herself. She's got obviously all this trauma of being left and everything, but she's day to day getting done what needs to be done. Yeah, she's just I love watching her. I watched just like one whole movie with just Rey, to be honest.
I'm the same, and I think there's like, I always when I watch Force Awakens, I'm so excited for the moment when she force pulls the lightsaber in the forest at the end.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember in the cinema, I was like, I saw the lightsaber move, I was like, Luke's here, Luke's gonna arrive, he's gonna save the day, and then it was Rey, and I just, excuse my language, I lost my shit when that happened. It was absolutely amazing, and it was just like the chills I have even today. I've seen that film 20,000 times at this point. Every time that scene happens, I just lose it. I think that is a moment that is so perfectly pitched that it defines the entire film. It's just that one bit of Rey is a Force user, and wonderful.
I think there's the one of the moments I love with it's between Rey and Kylo Ren is their lightsaber duel in the sort of forest and the snow and everything is really, and that moment that you're talking about, Reese, there as well, when she kind of the lightsaber gravitates towards her, and you sort of see it twitch, and you're kind of like, oh, who's it going to go to? And I never got that kind of like, oh, it might be Luke feeling, but I know my brother did as well when he was watching it. But the fact that it went to Rey obviously just means so much in that moment that she is the future of this franchise. She is the Luke Skywalker of this series, for want of a better term. But there's a moment when they are kind of dueling and their lightsabers are crossed and they're sort of really up close to each other, and you see the reflection of both Kylo Ren and her lightsaber kind of reflected in her eyes, and a moment where she just remembers to kind of use the Force, and she closes her eyes, and then from then she is the person who has the upper hand on Kylo Ren. And just love that moment, love that kind of pause that it takes. Like, it's so interesting that in the middle of this really intense lightsaber fight that they take the time to kind of pause and reflect almost on what this means for Rey, what this means for her future, who she really is. She is a Jedi. She is able to use the Force, and just love that moment, and love Rey as a character in general as well. I think where we sort of meet her in the beginning, where she is this kind of self-sufficient scavenger, she looks after herself, she doesn't sort of rely on other people, but you can see that she has a good heart. She sort of reluctantly at first, but takes on BB-8 and looks after him, and then sort of when meets up with Finn, and that moment where you first see the Millennium Falcon, I feel like that was my like nerdgasm moment in the Force Awakens. And of course then the scene in the trailer, but the Chewie we're home bit with Han Solo on the Falcon was just so sorry, sidetracked myself there just thinking about
that Falcon bit as well. I think that first flight when she controls the Falcon, I think it's so exciting. It's such a well shot scene, and it's just the way she kind of like, she pauses the Falcon, like lets it drop its engines up for a bit and then blast out of it. It's just it's brilliant. I love it. And
sort of maneuvering through all those kind of fight gaps and stuff as well. It's really exciting to watch, and not many of the Star Wars films benefit from 3D, but I remember one of my 10 showings, I think, was in 3D. And and that scene in particular, I remember looking really, really impressive and really immersive as you kind of feel yourself going through the corners and everything with her, and as the Falcon is flying or escaping from Jakku. It was thinking about the other new characters and stuff that we meet, and just how well I think this film is able to establish those so quickly and so easily, and seamlessly blend those with the kind of old favorites. I think that had the film just been just the kind of the Han Solo, Leia, Luke, then it would have felt like it was missing something. But what they've managed to do is have these new characters be so well written and so great that, we from the start we care about them just as much as we do the old ones. And I think obviously, we talked about Rey and Kylo Ren, but with Finn and Poe and BB-8 as well, there's just this, I don't know, there's something, it sort of ticks all those boxes, doesn't it, in terms of the Star Wars characters. You've got your rogue, you've got your, obviously the hero in Rey, the bad guy in Kylo Ren, and just how effortlessly it sort of meshes the old and the new, I guess. And yeah, how the new characters interact with the old as well is something that I really, really love about this film.
I think if there's something that I wish they did more in the sequels is really expand on the Finn and Poe relationship, because
yes,
I feel like Last Jedi, as I love Last Jedi, we'll get to that later, but I think the fact that Poe and Finn were separate for pretty much the entire time was a really, really missed opportunity. Because I think I saw a clip on Twitter recently where it's Finn and Poe trying to escape the Imperial ship or wherever they're on that the start of the TIE fighter, and the camera kind of swirls around them as they're having a conversation, meeting each other, and he calls him Finn rather than FN2187, and it's
I love that scene.
that scene is fantastic. That is what their relationship is like, and then we don't see enough of that. So I really hope that Episode 9 has got more Finn and Poe stuff to satisfy my needs.
Yeah, I don't really care for Poe on his own, but with Finn, I just think they've got such a great dynamic. I just love it. Maybe that's sacrilege saying I don't really care for Pin.
For Pin.
That's their other ship name. No, I don't really care for Poe on his own. I don't know why. I just struggle to warm to him. I really am not, especially in the Last Jedi. We'll obviously gone to that later, but I don't know. There's just something about him. I'm alright.
I do love Poe Dameron. I don't know if this is just incredible bias because I love me some Oscar Isaac, but sorry to bring the tone down. But he is. I like him I think he sort of fits into that, swaggering kind of Han Solo type role. But certainly in The Force Awakens, there is nowhere near enough of him, and particularly him and Finn. I agree with both of you. I really do like that dynamic that they have, and you really only get that kind of first moment when they're escaping from the First Order, and then when they sort of reunite later, and they have a sort of nice moment with the where Finn is wearing his jacket and he lets him keep it, and that's all quite nice and sweet. But yeah, they've got a really good screen chemistry together, and I like seeing them together, and I wish they, I think I do love The Last Jedi too, but splitting them up is one of the things where I'm a bit it's just, just give the people what they want.
Give us Finn Poe, please.
Give us Finn and Poe, just being together like we know they should be. And I'm thinking about the kind of returning favorite characters as well in this film, and how great it is to see them back together. And I get emotional when I think about this, but seeing Carrie Fisher back as Princess Leia, or General, sorry, I should say, and General Organa, to use her proper title, and obviously Harrison Ford as Han Solo as well, and just your guys' thoughts on how the kind of old and new, how they kind of mix, and what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I kind of have appreciated it more and more as I've watched sort of the original trilogy more, because I think, when I first saw The Force Awakens, I'd only just seen the original trilogy the week before, and I'd only seen each film once, so having Han and Leia in there sort of didn't make as much of an impact. It was cool, but I didn't have that relationship with those characters that maybe people who had grown up watching the original trilogy, or had even seen it in cinema back in the 70s and 80s, that same relationship that they would have. But sort of the more I rewatch the original trilogy, which I have done now quite a few times, the more I just enjoy seeing them in Force Awakens. But at the same time, it's sort of tinged with melancholy a bit now, because obviously with Carrie Fisher passing away, it's bittersweet, really, seeing it, because you're happy seeing her there, but then it's also sort of sad looking back at it, retrospectively.
It is, yeah. And I think I did really like Han Solo in Force Awakens. I think him and Chewie coming back was amazing, and having those two kind of be Rey and Finn's kind of guides and mentors through this whole weird situation they find themselves in was really nice. And then I think Han did get a very lovely. I say lovely, but he did get his swan song, didn't he? He got, to finish Han Solo's kind of arc in the whole trilogy, and well, I guess 4 films, quadrilogy, I guess. But yeah, I think Han, with Leia especially as well, I'm so happy that Leia was in it. But I know that, I think, wasn't the plan originally going to be that 7 was going to be Han Solo, 8 was Luke, and then 9 was going to be Leia? And I'm so sad that the fact that we can't really see episode 9 as a full Leia exploration then, compared to the other two, which would have been amazing, but it's really, really, truly tragic that we lost Carrie Fisher too early.
Yeah, and there's a really lovely moment when kind of Han and Leia see each other again, and you get that kind of notes of the old score, like Leia's theme, and just that lovely moment is, it's so nice that we have that, and that we have that moment of them being on screen together again. And I know a lot of people were kind of, we've sort of touched on it a little bit, but Han Solo's death, I know a lot of people were kind of very upset about that, and how could they sort of kill off such a iconic character. But the fact is, I don't, and I may have read this somewhere or heard it, but that Harrison Ford, I think, only agreed to do another Star Wars if he was killed, because he wanted that character to die in Empire. He didn't want him to kind of come back from the being frozen in carbonite. He thought that was the end of that character, and that should have been the end of that character. So he's always been a bit of a kind of like bitter old man about it. And I liked that this film, actually, talking about The Force Awakens, kind of plays into that bitter old man a little bit. He sort of is like, he's quite put upon at times in this, when he's sort of, he's got Rey and Finn in tow, and he's sort of, thrown back into having to be part of the story again, and he's a bit sort of like, oh, here we go again. But really does obviously have his amazing moments. And I think one of my favorite lines in the whole film as well, when he says to Finn, "That's not how the Force works." Just the delivery of that line is so perfect, and I love his kind of grouchy, what am I here? These kids, causing nuisance sort of attitude. I just love that.
He's just being Harrison Ford, isn't he? He's just being himself at this point.
He's very much playing himself at this point, but love that. And
it would have been, sorry, go on.
No, carry on.
I was just going to say, it would have been so crap if they'd listened to Harrison Ford and he'd actually died in Empire in the carbonite. That would just be such a crap ending to him. Like, it's just so, like, I get not really anticlimactic, because I get, like, it was a massive scene, but it still would have been like, really? He died in carbonite? Okay, fine.
Yeah. And I mean, if that had happened as well, we wouldn't have Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, because because he wouldn't have been born. And a world without Adam Driver in is a sad world indeed.
Don't even want to think about it.
I mean, Adam Driver himself would be alive. Kylo Ren would just to.
Well, I do also think as well that I think Ben Solo / Kylo Ren does add another really nice layer to Han Solo and who he is.
Oh yeah.
I think he really kind of takes on a lot of the Han's features, but then makes them also the part Vader features as well, and it's just it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's like when I go, like I was rewatching, Empire Strikes Back, I think like about a week ago, and I was looking at sort of, a younger Harrison Ford, and I was like, oh my god, he really does look a lot like Adam Driver when he was younger. It's just, I see it more and more. I don't know if it's just psychologically, in my head, because I know that they, play father and son on screen or whatever. But I was just thinking, wow, I was like, a lot of his, physical features, he actually looks quite a lot like him. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I do you know what, I've not really thought about that resemblance until you just said it, but now now I'm picturing him in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, like definitely that kind of, it has that, you can see it. It's not kind of a weird casting choice for him to be cast as his son. And having Han Solo in this film be that kind of, I never thought I would sort of see him as a father, and I guess he doesn't really obviously his relationship with his son is slightly difficult, given that his son is trying to, kill everyone. But yeah, love that kind of extra addition to his character, and to see him in this, particularly like we talked about in that moment, just trying to, talk his son down off the ledge, and just realizing that, he, in that moment, that he's losing him. And yeah, oh God, when I think about that scene, I just you just want it to go the other way, don't you? But it would be a completely different film if that didn't happen. And I don't think Harrison Ford has another Star Wars in him. I think we're lucky that we got this one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think he would have been, the grumpy old man would have been dialed up to 11 if he'd have had to have done another one. So
Then again, isn't he doing another Indiana Jones film? Haven't there been like 5 by the time? I think it's coming out, in like 2 years or something?
He
yeah,
will be 87,000 years old.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's like, so you want to do Indiana Jones? Sorry, I just got a glass of wine. Whoopsie, that's fine. Sorry, continue.
yeah, I don't know if I want to see another Indiana Jones film. I mean, maybe that's just because the last one was terrible.
I think that's a different podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've not even watched them all, so I won't even go there.
Yeah, we won't go down that route. But yeah, I guess we'll start sort of heading on to the Last Jedi shortly. But I wanted to mention or give a shout out to the score for The Force Awakens, because John Williams, the master, the legend, is, you just think, how can someone who is already this amazing do something that is just like even more amazing? And I think the score for The Force Awakens is maybe one of my favorite Star Wars scores. I think obviously it does incorporate a lot of those kind of themes and stuff that we've heard before, and uses them kind of in new and different ways as well. But I really love the new themes. I love the kind of the First Order theme, kind of playing on that the Darth Vader theme a little bit as well, and I love Rey's theme as well. And yeah, it's such a good score, and used so well, as you would expect from a John Williams score. But
I really love.
Yeah, Rey's theme is so great. I was listening to it today. It's just so like it's so kind of like whimsical and magical. It's just perfect. I just love it.
It's really good. I also really liked the opening score over the stormtrooper invasion of that little town, when it's like kind of like very kind of percussion-y and just full of evil sounds, but it's so cool. It sends shivers down my spine all the time. Listen to it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's John Williams. I mean, what a guy.
What a man.
What more needs to be said? If you guys have got anything else that you wanted to throw in about Force Awakens, I mean, we'll dive around between that and Last Jedi, I'm sure, as we go on. But yeah, anything else? Any other particular highlights or favorite scenes, favorite moments, anything else?
I want to shout out J.J. Abrams for being able to tackle such a massive project, and I would say smash it. I think there was so much hype around it and so many expectations from literally millions of fans around the world that all had a different idea of what Episode 7 should be. And I understand there is a criticism that it's a bit too like A New Hope, but I think it's what A New Hope does, but better. And I just think he really, really knocked it out of the park with Force Awakens.
Oh, can we also take a second to just appreciate the Scottish Kanja Club guy?
Oh, yeah.
He has like the best line ever. When I don't even know if I have the guts to try and imitate it, because my Scottish accent's probably awful. But when he says "Powdata Kanja Club," it's just so good. It's like, that was so bad, but like it gets me every single time. He's just a legend. I don't even know the actor's name, but whoever he is, he's amazing.
I love that guy. I love it, like how he comes in and he's, again, I'm not going to try the accent, but he's like, Han Solo, you're a dead man, but just in this like absolutely.
It's just so random, but just great.
It's just, you just don't expect to hear someone Scottish and stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
I love that guy. Oh, I'm so glad that he got a mention.
I suddenly remembered. I was like, I can't let this opportunity pass without mentioning him. Absolutely.
Yeah. The real star of The Force Awakens is that guy. Okay, well, we've got to get to the Last Jedi. We've kind of hinted at where we're going to go with this one, and yeah, isn't there a lot to unpack
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Last Jedi? How long have we got, guys? We're gonna try. We're gonna do our best. I just yeah. First, I guess I just wanted to kind of how we talked about the Force Awakens, what your experience was like watching the Force Awakens, and kind of for yeah, Holly in particular, you said that sort of that was kind of like reignited your love for Star Wars again. Um, so maybe what your kind of expectations were like going into the Last Jedi, and if that kind of yeah affected your viewing experience, and how that first viewing experience was for you as well. Holly, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I don't think I really had many expectations until the first teaser trailer came out. And it was like, yeah, Ray on Octo, and it was like already dark. And then when the final trailer came out, and everything was like tinged with red, and it was red, white, and black all the time, and I just thought, oh my god, this is gonna be like the darkest Star Wars movie ever, and I was just like so hyped for it. And I think it was to an extent, but it had a lot more humor in it than I thought it would, and I absolutely love The Last Jedi. But I think that was the one maybe my one pet peeve with it is that not all of the humor worked all of the time. I don't know if that's just me thinking it, but I've seen it quite a few times now, and I sort of think that every time. But yeah, so it was not quite as dark as I thought it was going to be, but still completely turned Star Wars on its head, I think.
I agree. I think when I saw it again at a midnight screening, and I tried to do it the double bill, and I was absolutely exhausted. So I don't think that did it any favors, because I remember when I first saw it, I was really, really on the fence about it. I think I really liked lots of bits of it. I thought, the throne room fight is incredible, and I think there's lots of really lovely ideas in there. But the first time I saw it, I was like, what was he trying to do? It took me a good two or three watches to really get Last Jedi, and I still think I've still got some problems with it. But overall, like you said, the way that it turns Star Wars on its head and just makes it fresh and new and different compared to the original trilogy, especially, I think it is brilliant. I really do think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I had a really hard time keeping my hype levels in check for this one, because just loving The Force Awakens as much as I did, I really just I've overwhelmed myself with excitement for this film, I think. And I had that kind of yeah, again, saw it at midnight screening, went with my brother again, which we have to do. I think Martin maybe came to that one as well. Um, and yeah, so it was like, surrounded by all the people I love and watching Star Wars, just having an absolutely great time. And I remember absolutely loving it when it finished, but then I'd kept myself shut off from a lot of the reviews, so I hadn't seen the negative reactions to it. So then when I started to see people not liking it, I was like, what? I was like, did I not did I miss something? Was there something that did I just allow myself to get so caught up in Star Wars hype and excitement that that I wasn't seeing something? What did I see that others didn't, or vice versa? And so, not 10 times, but I did go and see it a couple more times at the cinema, and I still loved it. Like every time I saw it, I found something new in it, and I have problems with it. I do. It's not a perfect film by any stretch, but I still just absolutely love this film. And I think we sort of talked about it briefly with Force Awakens, how if anyone did criticize it, they would say, oh, it's just, it's taking the blueprints of A New Hope and it's basically just doing that all over again. And that was what people criticized about The Force Awakens. But then Last Jedi comes along, and I think, like you were saying, Holly, that it sort of painted this picture of it was going to be, the darkest Star Wars film. It was going to be, it was going to be the Empire Strikes Back of this particular trilogy. Um, and then it wasn't that, and it was completely different, and it wasn't taking a blueprint of a previous Star Wars film and redoing it or updating it. It was doing something completely and entirely different, and I loved that about it. But then of course, you had all the people who said, this isn't Star Wars. This isn't what Star Wars is meant to be. This has ruined Star Wars, my childhood, and my life. And it's, yeah, so we're certainly going to get into how divisive this film was a little bit later. But yeah, sounds like we're all on the same page in terms of really, really liking this film, but acknowledging that there's some problems with it. Um, so maybe let's get the kind of negatives out of the way, and then we can just geek out on how much we love this film. So, what were the things you mentioned, Reese? There, the things that you had some problems with in this film?
I think every time I've rewatched it, I've always had struggles with the whole casino sequence. When Finn and Rose go off and onto that, that weird planet to try and find Benicio del Toro with the weird stutter, and it's just that bit doesn't work for me. I want it to work. I want it to be cool. I want it to be nice because it shows a new planet we've not seen before. It shows kind of a bit of a new little subculture where they are kind of gambling on these weird, quite nice horse type creature thingies, and it's a nice idea. But I just think that was where Last Jedi became a bit too prequelish, and it was very jarring compared to the rest of the film being so modern and so kind of focusing on the character work. The fact that they focused so much on this weird casino just felt like a bit of it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb to me a little bit.
Yeah, I reckon that was probably Rian Johnson's idea of getting like a canteen. It's like the cantina band scene of Last Jedi. But I get what you mean by that. It does go on for quite a long time. It's quite a fun little interlude. They're like Rose and Finn's little adventure. But no, I do see where you're coming from. But I think that it probably stemmed from Rian Johnson's idea to put that in a similar type scene into Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think that's my kind of main problem with the film as well is that particular sequence. And the film is long. I don't think it feels it, but it around that kind of middle bit when they're on the casino planet. It not its
Canto
name.
Bite.
That's the one, yeah. Casino planet. It does sort of feel a bit baggy around that and it doesn't stick with it kind of, and only that you are sort of flitting between that and what Rey is up to and what the other characters are up to, and it just seems to go on for quite a long time, and I think it takes up too much time for what actually happens as a result of it, if that makes sense. So they literally just have to go find the person who can break the code, take them back up or whatever, and do what they need to do. But when they're like faffing around with the donkeys and like, I'm
like, you mean the fathiers?
Yeah, that's the one. Space donkeys and like taking them for a little ride and stuff. I'm like, all right, okay, this is kind of getting into prequel territory now, and not the kind of good parts of the prequels, like the overly kind of, it's just some of the character designs in that scene are just crap as well. Like some of the aliens in the casino, they really look like they're straight from the prequels, and I'm just like, oh, I thought we'd got away from this. And yeah, I think that's really the only bit that I had kind of real problems with. I think that, again, it's a shame that the film has to split up our favorite bromance in Finn and Poe again. Would like kind of more of them together, but I like that. Yeah, I really like the Rose character as well, and we won't dwell on this too much, but she got a really kind of horrible amount of abuse and stuff online, which is just completely uncalled for. And I really like her as a character. I think she's really sweet. I think she's a really nice addition to the film, and her story as well, in terms of kind of, we see early on that I believe it's her sister kind of sacrifices herself for the good of the resistance, and I like her and Finn's relationship. I think I would have preferred it if it hadn't sort of gone to the kind of romantic side. I could have done without that. I quite like them just being pals, but yeah, and I like that they sort of have a little quest and a mission off together, but it doesn't. It feels very, very light, I think, compared to the rest of the film, which is quite dark. Um, and yeah, it's that kind of sequence is followed by some of the best moments in any Star Wars films. We're just gonna go right on into it. I think if we've covered all the negative stuff, now we can just talk about all the stuff that we love. Um, the throne room sequence, the lightsaber battle between Kylo Ren and Rey and the guards, and what happens to Snoke, and then yeah, I mean, I spoiler, I recently wrote a piece on ranking the kind of Star Wars lightsaber battles, and I put that one as my number one. It overtook the Duel of the Fates, and because it is just beautiful. I could watch that scene. Just the choreography is so good. The cinematography is amazing. It looks fantastic. It's so striking with that kind of red, and yeah, love it.
It was just like I felt like I'd been scalped like several times. Like something happened and something else happened, something else happened, and it was just like the chain of events. It just got better and better and better, and just the moment that like well, obviously Kylo has turned the lightsaber, and the moment it impales Snoke, and it's just like everyone's just like, oh my god, oh, and it's just and the slow sort of the slow montage to them like Rey getting up and then them turning back to back, and then it suddenly kicks in, and you just don't know where to look. Like, who do I watch? Like, what's going on? It's just it's like a feast for the eyes. Completely.
I know. I always watch Rey in that bit actually. When they first turn back to back, I always watch Rey's bit first. I don't know why. But yeah, when Snoke gets impaled, I remember that got a lot of hate, didn't it? Because it was like, what was the point of Snoke? And I was thinking, well, Snoke doesn't matter. Kylo is the villain of this story. Kylo is the one that we care about. Why would we have to have a big bad? But yeah, that scene I think is amazing. I was going to mention earlier in the in Force Awakens when they have the forest battle, and you were talking about the lighting on Kylo's face. I love the fact that now, because obviously modern technology helps, but the way that the lightsaber lighting like impacts the environment as well. I think that's such a cool change to the way that the scenes are shot with lightsabers, because it makes them just feel that much more powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially with the kind of the different, obviously the different colors as well, like the red and the blue, and just how, particularly in that scene, and yeah, in the one in Force Awakens as well that we mentioned, just how striking the lightsaber battles look now, and it's sort of such a far cry away from. You go back and watch, like, obviously we will never say anything bad about the original trilogy because we love it with all our hearts, but some of those lightsaber battles are a little lackluster. I'm looking at you, Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader.
Oh my god.
And you hope the most anticlimactic lightsaber battle ever, and just sort of building up to this moment of like, oh, they're gonna, he's gonna finally face off against Darth Vader, and it is the crappiest lightsaber battle ever. People can tweet me and tell me I'm wrong, but you know that it's the truth. So
it's just there's two old men hitting sticks at each other. Like, it's just so bad.
Yeah, I swear there's not even any like. There's no score to it either, is there? Unless
no,
not
really.
It's just like pretty much silent. There's no build up. There's no sort of atmosphere created. It's just like ching 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 ching. It's like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah. And yeah, so kind of what I liked about how the new films have treated the lightsabers is that I think in the older films, sorry, it's just kind of, you even get a pinky finger too close to those lightsabers and you are dead. Like, it doesn't matter where it strikes you, there's no kind of maiming. It's just like it touches you and you're gone. But in this, and I think particularly in that scene between Rey and Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, you see them kind of injure but not strike down each other. The lightsaber will burn them or cut them, and that's how we get the scars on his face. And you see that you get to see more of them as kind of a weapon and not just you see so much more of that. And I think certainly the the best, or for my money, the best lightsaber battle is that one in The Last Jedi. I watched it about half an hour before we started recording. I was watching that scene, and it's just perfection. And yeah, that the moment with Snoke as well. It's like I was perfectly fine with Snoke dying in that moment because yeah, it took me by surprise, and that's great if a film can shock you. And also, I think as we're going to find out in the Rise of Skywalker, this part of the story is about so much more than just, you know, like you said recently, this one kind of big bad who wants to, destroy the entire galaxy. Like we have Kylo Ren, who is this kind of conflicted, will he, won't he, villain sometimes, but sometimes good as well. And we're going to see the Emperor return in Rise of Skywalker as well. And perhaps, you know, he's the one who's been pulling the strings all this time. We'll sort of find that out. But Snoke was really just a puppet in all of this. And we see him in The Force Awakens only as a hologram. He is this kind of looming presence, but he's not really too much of a threat, I guess, in that sense, and is kind of struck down like a little bitch in The Last Jedi. He's just he's sliced in half, and that's it. That's the last we see of him, and I love that. It's such a bold move, and it really does show that this story is about so much more than that. It's not about him. It is about Kylo Ren. It is about Rey. And I think particularly when watching it earlier, this really came out, is that there is that conflict and that turmoil between both of those characters. And even now, as we're sort of heading into the Rise of Skywalker, I don't know who's going to turn or what way they're going to turn. Rey has the potential to go dark, and Kylo Ren has the potential to turn good. And I love that we still don't know at this stage. We don't know how it's going to end.
Yeah, especially because like I was thinking about this the other day, and with Palpatine coming in, I mean, like I remember I was talking to my brother about it a few months ago, and he was like, "Oh, I definitely think like Kylo Ren's going to team up with Palpatine, and they're going to try and defeat the Resistance." I don't. I think they're like completely separate entities, and I think it will be a case of like Palpatine being in the middle. We've got Kylo on one side, Rey on the other, and it will be a kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of situation. So that would bring maybe Kylo and Rey on the same side. That's how I see it going. Like I don't know if whether I would be right or whether anyone else sees it like that, but yeah, that's where I hope it goes anyway.
I know there's a lot of kind of footage in the trailers of Kylo and Rey working together, like destroying the plinth with Vader's helmet on it and stuff like that. I think that is going to come to play. But then it's how do they get out of that? I do hope that there is a clear answer of whether Kylo goes evil or not. I think because he's been so on the edge, and I feel like at the end of Last Jedi he does become truly evil when he says things like "shoot that piece of junk out of the sky" and all that kind of stuff. Like it's just he's brilliant. It's so good. But I think I do hope that he does go pretty much full evil at the end of Last Jedi. I think he just maybe thinks in Rise of Skywalker that he needs to just have that aside for a bit to destroy this bigger kind of universe-ending evil of Palpatine. But I don't know. I'm not sure where it's going to go in episode 9.
Yeah, I'm excited to find out because like I said, it's just the not knowing at this stage and not being able to predict it. I think you get a little bit of that in the original trilogy with Luke, and is he gonna turn, or obviously then Darth Vader kind of being redeemed as well. But I think you always know deep down that it's going to be fairly clear cut. The bad guy is gonna get killed, and the good guys will triumph. And of course, they won't turn bad because why would they? But I don't know, a kind of sick part of me like really wants to see that complete role reversal between Kylo Ren and Rey. Even if it's just like for a moment.
Me too.
Evil Rey, like good Kylo Ren. I just love that idea. more of them two together as well, please, because
Definitely. Oh my god.
we ship that really hard.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean,
Hashtag Raylo.
I know some of us do anyway, but I'm here for it. And do you know what? There are moments in The Last Jedi where their chemistry is a sizzling, and
Oh
I
my
love,
god, yeah. The
I love
scene,
it.
yeah, the scene in my absolute favorite, all-time favorite Star Wars scene ever in the history of Star Wars is the scene in the hut where they reach out and touch hands through the Force. It's just the most incredible thing. I remember watching it, and I was like the staunchest anti Raylo before going in. I was like, hate it, can't believe people ship it. Like, oh, what the hell? But then I saw that, and I was like, you know what? I get it. Rian Johnson has made me understand it. Like, it's just that whole scene, like the intimacy of that scene it's insane. It's just so beautifully shot. I just love it.
I thought you were going to say when Kylo Ren is topless in the in his bedroom, wherever
I
he's
mean,
in.
that's great as well, obviously.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, she's gonna say the topless.
Oh my god, I'm bad, but I'm not that bad. It's great.
You have a
It's very funny.
You have a reputation.
Oh no, oh god.
And we love it, and we support it, and we agree as well. It's a great scene. He's a good-looking dude.
He's a big boy.
Oh gosh, I'm just getting myself distracted now. This is I'll get back on. What are we talking about again? Star Wars, lightsabers, all those things.
Yeah, just because I was mentioning, we were talking about sort of Rey and Kylo and that relationship and sort of how it's developed in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's so interesting where their relationship goes, and obviously in The Force Awakens they don't really have that much kind of contact, do they? Obviously they face each other at the end in battle, but there isn't that kind of relationship. But I love that kind of link that is created between them, and they are the kind of the two sides of the coin, but also they both have light and they both have dark in them, and they, I think, can see in each other there is that conflict as well, and that makes it really interesting because Rey obviously desperately wants Kylo Ren to kind of join her side and be on the side of good because she recognizes that Skywalker in him, that good, and he wants her to go into his side because he recognizes that power in her, that strength in her, and I think it's so well explored in The Last Jedi. And like you're talking about that scene where I know we joked about the topless scene, but the scene where they in the hut where they're kind of their hands touch and everything is just it's so well done, and you really get that sense of a closeness between them. And we joke about the kind of shipping of them as well, but I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it. And whether it's kind of that chemistry of the good versus evil, or whether there is that something else there, I don't know. I like that uncertainty. I like that kind of will they, won't they sort of thing.
It's a great dynamic. Yeah, it's brilliant.
I think they both have a connection in the sense that, like, they're both, they're both estranged from their parents in some way, aren't they? And I think they do share that kind of one, similarity between the both of them that they both feed off of.
Yeah, it's like they say in the hut scene, you're not alone, neither are you. Like, they completely understand where the other's coming from, and although they may be trying to, I don't want to say manipulate, that may be in the back of their minds, try and get each other on, each other's side, but I think it comes from a genuine place and from an actual place of understanding, and I think you can tell that in, like, both sort of Daisy Ridley and Andorra's performances as well. Like, it's actually, especially in that scene, it's very genuine. And then again in the throne room when Kylo reaches out his hand and he's like, join me, and he says, like, please, like, he's actually like begging her because he's so desperate at that point to change his situation, just to get out of it.
Yeah, it's just both of those characters I think are so well rounded, and particularly obviously in The Force Awakens you're kind of getting to know them and you're meeting them for the first time, but I like that The Last Jedi really takes the time to explore and develop both of those characters. It isn't just kind of, here's a load of new things, here's this, here's that. It particularly with those two, it really takes the time to focus on them and how their characters are developing. And I think both of them have got arguably kind of the most interesting character arcs in, well, certainly in the sequel trilogy, but yeah, I think across most of the Star Wars films, really, their arcs are very, very interesting. And I like that Kylo Ren is kind of, at times in The Last Jedi, he is manipulating Rey with the kind of the thing about her parents. And as we know, that is the thing that she is kind of most, I don't know, one of the things that makes her most vulnerable. And he sort of says to her, I know who your parents are, or I can tell you who your parents are, even though she's already been told that they're nobody. So there is still that kind of doubt in our minds, like, who's being honest here? And as much as I want the Rise of Skywalker to kind of stick with that, us not knowing, or her parents being nobodies and them not mattering, it does leave that a little bit open ended, doesn't it? Because you're still not quite sure who to believe, and who is telling the truth, and are her parents more significant, or is she really just nobody? And I want her to remain nobody, because I think it would just be undoing so much of that kind of good work. And we're all guilty of it. We probably all wrote something following The Force Awakens about, like, who are Rey's parents? This is why she's a Kenobi. This is why she's a Skywalker. And I certainly wrote something like that. And I love that this film just went, you know what? Doesn't matter. Her parents were nobodies. She is important because, you've seen what she can do, but also kind of showing that this power, the Jedis are from all kinds of corners of the galaxy. They're not all just related to one dude. They're not all part of one family. And I think that frustrated a lot of people with The Last Jedi, but was actually one of the things that I liked the most about it. I guess another thing that kind of frustrated people was perhaps the treatment of Luke Skywalker. So I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that, or how he was treated in this film was, I think, one of the most divisive things about it. But yeah, your thoughts on Luke in this film?
I think I get where people are coming from. If they've been like a fan of him for ages, and like in the original trilogy, he was really sort of really preppy, not preppy, but really like, had a hop to his step, and he was really like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a Jedi, learn about the Force, and he was, really, really into it, and really strong and powerful character. And then you see him in Last Jedi, and he's kind of given up. But it makes sense. Like, he's an old man. He's been on this island by himself for decades, and then suddenly this young woman turns up knocking on his door every 5 seconds, and he just like wants to be left alone. It kind of makes it completely makes sense. And if he's had all that time to dwell on the past, and he's had nothing else to really distract him, then it kind of makes sense that that's how he turned out in The Last Jedi. And he does change throughout the film, because then he, near the end of the film, when he goes to help the Resistance, goes in quotes, goes to help the Resistance,
speaking, yeah.
Technically, yeah. That's a bit more of, the Luke that people used to know. So he kind of does change a bit throughout the film, but yeah, it's a bit more, I mean, I don't want to say realistic, because, this is, something set in, wars set in space, so, it's not really the epitome of realism, but it's a bit more realistic for him to have that attitude throughout a lot of the film. I don't know if anyone else thinks that, but...
I feel very similar, actually. I feel like, without Luke being a bit of a, curmudgeonly old man, you wouldn't get scenes like him and Yoda, talking about what it means to be a Jedi, and how, all of his failures in the past have led into this moment. And I think that, especially that scene when, the tree burns down, that to me is the best scene in the entire film of Last Jedi. I think it's such a good message of what Star Wars means to people, that people really overlooked that when they kind of criticised all the other bits about Last Jedi that they didn't like. I think, Yoda saying things like the greatest teacher failure is, that's just such a universal message that people can grasp onto. And I think that is Luke's character really builds towards that scene and that interaction with Yoda, telling him you're on the right track. You just got to keep going. And I think, I could watch that scene forever.
Yeah, and it kind of mirrors the scenes between them in Empire Strikes Back as well, when obviously he's first teaching Luke how to use the Force, and Luke's getting like really frustrated, and he's just like, "Oh, I can't do it," and that I'll try to do it. And then what's it? He says, "Oh, do or do not. There is no try." And so it's kind of like the whole greatest teacher failure is, that's kind of this film's equivalent to that, like Yoda teaching Luke a massive lesson, even though he's like quite an old man now. He still has like a lot to learn.
My thing is, I don't know what people were expecting Luke to be like, and I think, I sort of said earlier that I was worried that the kind of hype for this film was going to ruin my experience of it, or just that expectation. And I think that I might be wrong in this, and I'm sure the people who dislike Last Jedi will be very vocal about the reasons why they dislike it and so on. But part of me just thinks that following The Force Awakens, it did kind of leave those things open. It left some questions unanswered. Of course, you get to see Luke, but it's right at the end and he says nothing. So immediately you've got think pieces coming out about what are his first words going to be, like what's Luke going to do in the next film? What is this, and it's all that kind of speculation. And I think a lot of the reason why people didn't like The Last Jedi is because it wasn't the Star Wars film they were expecting. And rather than kind of embracing that and going, do you know what? No, it wasn't the Star Wars film I was expecting, but it's the Star Wars film we've got. And let me, rationally look at the reasons why it has merit or doesn't. That's not to say that anyone who dislikes it, that opinion isn't valid. But what I really do take issue with is the people who were saying, not my Star Wars, not my, this isn't my Luke Skywalker, this isn't the Luke Skywalker I know and love. And it's like, of course it isn't the Luke Skywalker, because he is older. He has been drinking blue milk on an island by himself for like however long, with only the porgs for company. Like, of course.
He's also watched his dad die right in front of him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and not even just that, the stuff that we haven't seen as well, the kind of stuff that happened off screen in terms of, training the next lot of Jedis, and then that all kind of going wrong, and Kylo Ren turning against him. And I think it's just, I don't know, what did people want? Did they want that kind of like peppy little kid again who's like, I'm gonna destroy all the bad guys and save the galaxy? It's like, no, he is an old man now. He has seen some stuff, he has experienced some things, and he is exactly the type of person that Luke Skywalker would be at this point in the story, given everything that's happened to him. And yeah, he is, at times he acts in surprising ways. And I think, he sort of, the first thing he does is tosses the lightsaber over his shoulder like he doesn't care. And people really, really took issue with that. They were like, oh, that he would never do that. And it's like, well, he did, so deal with it. Like,
yeah, and this is the thing. This is the thing with expectations. Like, okay, I didn't come up with this quote, but it's absolutely brilliant. Expectations are premeditated resentments. So if you expect something, if you with your whole chest expect something to happen, like, you're just setting yourself up to then be disappointed, because if then it doesn't happen, then you're going to be really hateful about what's actually happened. And that is exactly what happened with Last Jedi. People expected it to be this and that, and now they've ended up hating it because it didn't meet their expectations. It's like, well, if you had tried to talk yourself out of that to begin with, then if you had kept more maybe of an open mind going into it, then you wouldn't be so hateful and disappointed now, very possibly.
Yeah, I could not agree with that more. And I think it's not a valid criticism for someone to say, I don't like it because it's not the Star Wars film I wanted. That's not a reason. That's not kind of,
yeah.
We all love it, but we've kind of gone into some of the reasons why we didn't, and the specific things about it that perhaps we didn't love as much, or, some problems we had with it and whatnot. And if someone, takes the time and kind of goes through those things and go, yep, here's all the reasons why I didn't like it, that's my opinion, then you kind of go, okay, great, that's fine. You didn't like it, I did. We can agree to disagree. But it is that, you can't just be that kind of aggressive in your not liking something just because it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. It's and that then had that kind of like ridiculous thing of people saying they were gonna like remake it or whatever.
Oh God, awful.
And saying that Last Jedi isn't canon and all this sort of thing. And it's just, and now we're kind of in that position where I've been really mindful about not letting my, expectations of the Rise of Skywalker affect my feelings towards it. At this point in time, I have no kind of, this is what I would like to happen. This is what I would like to see. I'm just like, we're getting another Star Wars. I'm excited for it. Trailers look great. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to hopefully enjoy it and form an opinion based on what I have seen rather than what I would hope that it would be. It's yeah. And the hate and stuff that Rian Johnson got for this film. I mean, people really took it too far.
Still gets it today, and it's like people are choosing not to go see Knives Out because of Last Jedi, and it's like you're missing out on an amazing film by not choosing to support Rian Johnson.
Yeah. That's their loss because Knives Out's a great film.
Exactly.
Absolutely their loss, and also completely unfair to just disregard director's entire work from that point onwards and be like, well, I didn't like that film, so I'm not going to watch any of his other films. And it's like, he is a great director. Last Jedi is a great Star Wars film with problems, but there are still moments in it that the good outweies the bad for me in Last Jedi. And yeah, it sounds like you guys are kind of on the same page with that. And yeah, I don't know. The divisiveness of this film really shocked me. I don't know how you guys felt about it when you kind of started seeing those. I know, Rhys, you said that you did change your mind on it, or you sort of grew into your love of it. But yeah, how that kind of reaction, what you thought of that when those kind of reviews started coming out and people were really, really slating it.
I remember I was really shocked at how picky people were being with it. Like they were really trying to find reasons to dislike it, and they were doing things like, we've not even mentioned it. The absolutely iconic Holdo moment when she blasts the ship into the the First Order ship to destroy it through light speed. That is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in a Star Wars film. And people disregard it because they think that, if he did that then, why haven't they done it before? And it's like, what do you mean? Like, do they think they've got ships that they can destroy on a daily basis just through light speed? Like,
why is that your first thought when you watch that incredible scene and it suddenly goes silent and it's just the black and the white, the ripple? It's incredible. How is that? Yeah, how are people thinking about that?
I know.
First moment.
Exactly. And I just think like you are depriving yourself of just appreciating a filmmaker creating such an iconic image. Like that shot that is on the screen for about 10 seconds, is it? In complete silence. And it's just seeing that shot on its own, I think is breathtaking. But the fact that what it all means and what the build up towards it and it happening and just thinking that is what Star Wars is. That is someone sacrificing herself for the greater good of the Resistance and saving everyone else's lives by doing something so brave and so dangerous, and it was so creative. Like I would never have thought of doing that in Star Wars ever before I saw Last Jedi.
Yeah, it was such a risk, wasn't it? I think that's what's great about Rian Johnson as well, is that he took so many risks, and it's such a shame that like not half the internet, like it may be just a small minority. It's kind of hard to tell because Twitter's kind of like a microcosm, but it's a shame that people have responded to those risks with negativity because I wouldn't want that to then be in the back of Rian Johnson's mind every time he makes a film. Now he's like, I can't take risks in this or that or the other because some idiots said that about my Star Wars film.
Yeah,
it's such a shame because he really is a brilliant filmmaker.
He is.
Yeah, and I think just the pettiness of people about it as well. Like we said, it's it not being the film that they wanted, and that like stupid petition about like, we're gonna remake Star Wars and it's gonna be amazing, and it's like, cool, with what budget?
I was gonna say, go on then, get your iPhone and go out and film it. Be my
go
guest.
ahead. Yeah, I would love to see that. I cannot wait to see you try and recreate that beautiful scene that we just talked about in like with your iPhone and MS Paint or something. Like,
Yeah, that film. Yeah, that film that grossed, $1.5 billion. Yeah,
Yeah.
go on, try and recreate that then.
yeah, would pay to see you try.
But you also know as well that you know for a fact that all these people that hated Last Jedi, they'll be there opening weekend of Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, because they can't help themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's I mean it's hardly damaged the reputation of Star Wars, has it? Because it's bigger than ever, and there's just the only unfortunate thing about it is that it has created this quite toxic portion of the Star Wars fandom where obviously now with kind of JJ being back for Rise of Skywalker, people are, treating it like the second coming, like, oh, our savior JJ is coming back. Don't worry, guys. He's gonna put it right again, and and I mean, the expectation on that guy's shoulders already, just anyone involved in a Star Wars film, that expectation of, having to deliver and having to give something that every single person is going to be happy with. There's always going to be people who criticize it. We, said about The Force Awakens that people criticized it for not being original enough, and then The Last Jedi was too original. So you are kind of fighting a losing battle, and yeah, I don't like that kind of attitude of a lot of people of being like, absolutely slating The Last Jedi, but now kind of being like, it's all right, guys, JJ's back and he's going to fix all the problems. It's like, there are not problems to fix. That film is great. And JJ is not suddenly going to go into this film and be like, psych, none of that stuff happened, and kind of like retcon every single thing in The Last Jedi, because why would he? It is a continuation of that story. That is the story they are going with. That is the story that he is going to continue.
And he was producer on Last Jedi. Like,
yeah,
Exactly,
he wouldn't
yeah, I
have
was about to
agreed
say
to any
that.
of these decisions that Ryan Johnson made if he, if he would obviously have made a choice. But actually, I want it in episode 9. I was seeing this, and they would have talked about it. Like, it all went past JJ, all went past Kathleen Kennedy. It went past all these people, and then for some reason they think fans are gonna the ones that matter. Them, I don't know.
Yeah, and completely disrespectful, of a director to then kind of go, no, I'm just going to undo everything that the previous film did. It's just like that's not going to happen. So again, that's kind of worrying me a little bit about Rise of Skywalker, is that again, people are expecting it to be the film that fixes everything, but I'm like, there's nothing to fix, so I'll just
Yeah, and
enjoy it.
JJ has praised Ryan so many times in like countless interviews that I really, really appreciate what Ryan has done, and I'm really I'm so great. Yeah, I'm so grateful for for the direction that he took Star Wars in. So he has nothing but nice things to say about him and what he and the Last Jedi. So it's like, really, you think he's just gonna completely disregard everything? I think not.
Yeah, and I think it's so hard, isn't it, to please everyone, and you're never going to do it. There will be people who like the new film, there will be people who dislike it, and that's absolutely fine. But I just want people to go into it and just kind of see it and judge it for what it is, not kind of based on the previous expectations or what you want it to be or what you hope it's going to be. It is what it is. It's done. We're going to see that film very soon, and hopefully it's going to be great. Not really sure what else to add on that, but
it's such a shame that and I think I tweeted this like a couple of months ago. People are still going on about, oh, I hate this in Star Wars, I hate that. It's like, this is the last film in the Skywalker saga. Can't you just sit and enjoy it? Like, take it in, focus on what you love about it, tweet about what you love about it rather than what you hate about it. Like, it's such a waste of time and energy. It's so counterproductive. Like, this is the last film in the Skywalker saga. There'll be more Star Wars films, but it's not going to quite be like this again. So just enjoy it. Just have fun, for God's sake.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, and we will be leading the positivity on that and shouting about all the reasons why we love Star Wars and love this sequel trilogy in particular. And Yeah, I think there's something else with The Last Jedi that I was just thinking about the kind of the final battle scene, I guess, on I'm terrible at the planets, but that there we go. You guys are much better at this than me. And just I love that scene and just the visual of that with the kind of the white, almost looking like snow, isn't it? But the dust kind of being that red color as well. I just absolutely I love that. It's so exciting to watch, and it's just a really well shot scene as well. And then obviously with Luke kind of making his appearance and his end as well. I guess I think we can assume that that is the end of Luke, at least in bodily form. Um, but yeah, if you guys kind of love that moment as much as me, or your thoughts on kind of the ending of this film.
Yeah, I like it took me so long to pick my jaw up off the floor after we realized that Luke was a hologram. Well, it was like a hologram rather than actually him. And I feel like it's when you look back at it, it's kind of a dead giveaway because like his it looks like he's like dyed his hair and he looks a bit he's not as unkept as he was. And so it kind of but you just I guess in the moment you're not really thinking about that. You're just like, oh my god, Luke's there. He's going to save the day, and like he does. But then when it cuts to him on Acto like projecting.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, I didn't even know someone could do that. It's so good. It's a shame that he wasn't actually
Because
there
I was when he
physically,
turned up
but
and he had a
it's
different
still
haircut and
amazing.
beard
It's
thing, I was
absolutely
like,
blew my
oh, he's
mind.
done that classic thing in films where he looks himself in the mirror and he shaves his beard off and he like gets himself all like tied up to save the day properly, and then you find out he's not there. I thought that was brilliant, and when he steps out of the like the cave area they're in, and then he's just faced him on his own with six 8080s in front of him. That shot has been my laptop background for months at this point.
Mm.
And it's just that scene is fantastic when Kylo realizes it and he kind of like swings through him and he's not there. He just it's paced so well, and all he did was it's just to distract them. And the fact that Luke makes such a difference by doing literally nothing, I think, is amazing.
I do love that Luke moment as well, where he kind of like brushes the dirt off of him, and a lot of people were hating on that as well. They were like, "Oh, Luke wouldn't do that," and it's like,
Hmm.
"Are you Luke Skywalker? Do you know that for a fact? Like, just stop complaining. It's great." Yeah, hashtag not my Luke.
I do
Hashtag
remember in
not
that
my
scene
Star
as it was
Wars.
playing
Let's
out when I first
you know
watched it. I was like,
focus on the
Luke did
positives
not stop that
and
gunfight.
let's
Like, what is he doing
we're
what is happening
hashtag
to Star Wars? Like,
Raylo
this is ruined
shippers.
it. They've killed Luke
We're
Skywalker.
we're all
Like, you can't
in
survive that.
on
And then
the
you
Finn and
realise, you just think,
Poe
oh, Ryan
romance as
Johnson is
well,
a genius, isn't
and
he?
yeah, I'm not mad about that at all. Yeah, I guess we need to start wrapping this up eventually, but there's obviously so much more that we could get into with these films. But yeah,
Not
maybe
my Luke.
going against
Hashtag not
what
my
we
Luke.
have just been talking about, our kind of expectations. How are you guys feeling about the Rise of Skywalker, and
Absolutely.
thoughts, feelings, expectations, hopes, and dreams for that? Rhys, do you wanna start us
Yeah,
off on
so
that?
I'm a bit like you. I'm trying not to put too many expectations onto the film itself because I'm just happy to let the film be the film and let it, be what it wants to be. However, my only hope is that I really hope they stick to Rey's parents were no one. I think that, like you said earlier, that idea that anybody can be a Jedi, anyone can have the Force, I think is such a powerful, message for Star Wars, and that's one of the best things to come out of Last Jedi. That I really hope that really really sticks to it, and Rey is not going to be a Skywalker. She's not going to be a Kenobi. She can just be Rey, and I just hope that's it. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what they can do with it, trying seeing if they can do anything different, and I'm also looking forward to the return of Duel of the Fates on whatever fight they want to use it on. So, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for the film. I'm going to the midnight screening again, but I'm sadly not doing the triple bill this time. I'm just going to go for the only seeing Skywalker rather than all three. But I can't wait. It's going to be an event of a lifetime.
Yeah, and this will be the first time I see a Star Wars movie at midnight because I've not done it for any of them. And I'm going with my dad, and he's like been watching Star Wars films in cinemas literally since he was like a teenager, and this is his first ever midnight screening, like ever. So I'm so excited that we get to like experience that together. So that'll be really cute. Yeah, so I'm buzzing. I have three hopes. I'm very reluctant to go into a film like this with hopes because this spoiler alert for Avengers Endgame, if no one's seen it, close your ears now. I went into Avengers Endgame desperately hoping that Tony Stark wasn't going to die, and then we all know what happened. So I'm very reluctant to sort of think too much about it. But so priority number one, I want Kylo Ren to be redeemed, because I think if he isn't, then what was the point of his whole arc? Second of all, I really want him to survive the film. I think like redeeming him and then killing him off will be exactly what happened in the original trilogy. Been there, done that. Why not keep the antagonist alive and redeemed, and he can go live by himself and do whatever he wants? That's fine. So that's my second priority. And thirdly, this is like Raylo's not gonna happen. Like, it's probably not gonna happen. In my dreams, I would love it to happen. Probably won't. But that's one hope dream of mine. But that's low down on the priority list. Oh my god, though, that would be the best thing ever. Oh, but yeah, we'll see. But I just want, my hopes mainly surround Kylo being redeemed and not being like shoved down a pit or whatever. So we'll see. Oh my god. Just record my reaction. Yeah, because he like won't like he doesn't really. I don't think he really cares about the relationships or whatever. So I'll be there like losing my goddamn mind. He'll be like, okay, cool, whatever, and I'll be like, oh, yeah. But once we get a jump cut like spoiler chat going after the Rise of Skywalker, things are really gonna kick off then. So I look forward to that.
I've really tried not to kind of, in terms of plot details and specific things I would like to happen or not happen. I'm trying to not think about that too much, which is hard because obviously I am super excited for this film. I kind of agree with you guys on certainly on the Rey's parents thing. You will, from wherever you are in the world, hear an audible yell from me in my screening if they make her something other than nobody. I will be so mad about that. Please don't do it. JJ, if you're listening, might be a bit too late now, but just please don't do it. I think that would just undo so much of the kind of the good of what we've talked about as well, of the, what Star Wars means and its future beyond this is the end of the Skywalker saga, as we're calling it. And having her be nobody means there is a future for Star Wars outside of this saga. Obviously, her story is tied in to those from the original trilogy, but just have her be nobody and have the story kind of continue, and that would be fabulous. I'm not going to be mad about any of our kind of ships setting sail, whatever whatever form that takes. I'm very excited to see what they're going to do with Palpatine as well. The one thing I have done is like read some theories about what his kind of part in this might have been, and obviously, want to find out how he is still kind of knocking around, like what's his, has he been kind of like pulling the strings of this the whole time? Because showing up kind of in the last hurrah almost is like, what has he been doing all this time? Like, and really keen to find that out. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. This has been the first new Star Wars film that I've not seen at a midnight screening. I'm so upset. I know neither me or Martin could get the annual leave to go and see it. So we are going to the first post-work screening we can get to on the 19th. So no, and this is the sort of film as well where it's like it's too big to be spoiled. I will just be livid if I find something out beforehand, particularly if it's something relating to like a character death or a moment or something like that. I just do not want to see that. So yeah, I will be silent on social media as well as I try and avoid everything. I think I'm one of those people who, like, even when the kind of reactions start coming out, like the first kind of initial thoughts and reviews, I'm kind of like, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know how many stars Empire gave it, or I just I just want to shut myself off from it and just have that moment of seeing it and enjoying it. And yeah, hopefully I can survive through to 7 p.m. or whatever it is that day to see it. But very, very much looking forward to it. And yeah, I think that's about it for all of us. So I want to thank both of you for a fabulous discussion, and well, we stayed fairly on topic. I think we floated around. We floated around a little bit. We got into the topless scenes a little bit too much, but it's oh, yeah, Rhys lowering the tone as yeah, exactly. So yeah, thank you both for being fabulous guests. And just if you have any final comments or things you want to plug, and of course let people know where they can find you on Twitter. Holly, do you want to take us away?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Holly Weaves, Weaves with a Z. Had to remake my Twitter account because it got shut down a few months ago, which is very sad. I've been writing for Jump Cut since July. You can find me on there. I also write for Screen Queens fairly regularly as well. So you can follow them if you like and read my stuff.
So I'm on Twitter. I'm at RuhButcher. I've been at Jump for a while now, so it's about 3 or maybe even 4 years at this point. But if by the time this episode comes out, I should have a review of the game Death Stranding out in the wild. If you want to read that, feel free to. But yeah, thanks for having me on the Star Wars episode, guys. It's been really fun.
And you can find me. I am at Sarah Buddery. And of course, you can find all of us at JumpCast _. You can check out all of our written reviews, features, interviews, news, and more at jumpcutonline.co.uk. And very, very quick plug for our Patreon as well. Thank you to everyone who has signed up to give us some money so far. You're amazing. We love you. I haven't got the list of names to give you proper shout outs, but hopefully just that very generic, we love you, you're great, will suffice for now. And if you want to find out more about becoming a Patreon, you can find all of our links at jumpcutonline.co.uk. Go straight to jumpcutonline.co.uk/jumpcast for all of our podcast episodes. There'll be our Star Wars bonus content. There's all the regular episodes as well that you can go and check out. And yeah, I think that is all for us today. All that's left to be said is see you next time for whatever episode that might be, and may the Force be with you.